recording. So basically what we're going to do today is just walk through the syllabus. And if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me because when I share the screen, I cannot see the chat. So if you have questions, you'll have to interrupt and ask.
Okay.
And so we'll just go over this. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself for those that are not here since I'm recording. I'm Anna Ballinger, and I am helping out in the area of academic affairs now. And so if you have any questions regarding your course shell or faculty type questions, you can target those questions to Sister Jill Lewis, who is the faculty, kind of like our faculty liaison and support. And then if there's any student questions for the class, since it's Hope Corps, all student questions should be directed to Sister Kendra Stevens, who will be the advisor for all of the Hope Corps students. And Jill's email is jlewis@wilsonu.org, and Kendra's email is kstevens, KSTEPHANS @wilsonu.org. So we'll just start off with that, and then if you have any questions that you can't reach Kendra or Jill on, then you can also email me or call me, and I will direct those questions to them through whichever area it needs to go or help you out to the best of my ability. My email is aballinger@wilsonu.org. So basically, we're going to go over biblical principles. This course is 3 units. It used to be a 2-unit course. It has changed, and so it is now a 3-unit course. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this course has been a merging of 2 prior Hope Corps courses. I believe it was Biblical Foundations, and I'm not sure which other course, but the 2 courses have been blended into one. So now it's Biblical Principles, and it changed from 2 units to 3 units. And so the course teaches students to think critically about biblical principles and equips them to form a consistent and cohesive worldview. And it also provides an overview of the Bible with emphasis on the key events, primary figures, and principal themes. That's just basically the course description. Second, we have the Wilson College mission. The mission is to empower students to become world-class leaders through spiritual formation and Christian higher education in an environment that embodies the Pentecostal ethos. And then 3, we have the program Learning Outcomes. And for this program, the learning outcomes, the takeaways that we want our students to have are spiritual formation, application of biblical principles to worldview, rational defense of beliefs, and skill at sharing the gospel. The course learning outcomes are to, number 1, identify the origins, authorship, key events, primary figures, and principal themes of the Old and New Testaments. 2, analyze and apply a biblical worldview to make decisions. 3, experience growth in their relationship with God as they integrate biblical knowledge and principles into their life. And 4, utilize credible sources of biblical information. 5 is our coursework, and this is just basically what we give to the students so they can see that this is their contract, listing the rights and responsibilities as a student. If they have any questions regarding their ability to complete an assignment on time, or if any expectation is unclear, we guide them through this area to please speak with the instructor before the assignment is due. And then this outlines the required readings for the course, and we advise the students to carefully complete all those readings so that it will contribute to their understanding and will supplement the online presentations. And then after this, in the course schedule, the students will be able to see those specific assignments and how the readings are connected to those assignments for each week and how they'll be prepared to relate to the assignments. Students are required to purchase personal copies of these materials for use in this course and for future reference. So the required readings are the Holy Bible, and then in this course we have the New Cyclopedic Theological Dictionary by J.R. Enzi. This book, I believe, can be purchased from Pentecostal Publishing House, and also it may be available on Amazon. I have not looked personally to see if that's available on Amazon, but I can do that today and double check on that. They will need Haley's Bible Handbook, an abbreviated Bible commentary. This can be purchased on Amazon. And then they will need a book called Real Talk by A. Solis. This book can be purchased as a digital book on Amazon, and it can also be purchased as a paper copy through Pentecostal Publishing House if they still have any in stock. And then the next resource is provided as an online resource, The Two Men of Human History, Adam and Christ. And this is a book by Dr. Wilson from here at Wilson University. And we provide that, as I said, as an online resource in the class. Some things that are included in the coursework as well are lectures. There are recorded lectures and PowerPoint presentations. The students will need to pay careful attention to each of those because there will be questions and exercises built off of those lectures, questions for the quizzes, questions for the pre-final and final, and the lectures also are connected to the assignments that are included in the course. Threaded discussions are another component of the coursework. Each unit includes a threaded discussion focusing on topics related to the course. The discussions are a great place to ask questions, clarify issues, and share insights. The students need to check in regularly, and they need to contribute, spending 2 or more hours over a period of 2 days or more per week to make a minimum of 3 posts. I want to stop and take a second here also and clarify for this course because this was incorrect on the course implementation guideline that I sent on Friday. I did not catch the fact that we had the old threaded discussion information in that course implementation guideline from last year. And last year we did not require threaded discussions, but this year threaded discussions are required again. They are not optional. So the students are required to do threaded discussions and the instructors are required to participate as well in the threaded discussions. The threaded discussions are worth 240 points of the total of the points for the course. So the students won't want to not participate in that. I want to be very clear on that since that is a change from last year to this year. The students are not caught by surprise, or neither are instructors caught by surprise. So as an instructor, it's important that the instructors interact in the threaded discussions. They'll want to build that relationship. We did put those back in because we felt like the student interaction was lost when we took the threaded discussion out. And so we put the threaded discussions back in so students would have that opportunity and we could kind of facilitate them talking to each other. We thought they might do it on their own. They did not. We tried it. We tried to generate discussions even though they were not required and graded, and we just found there was very minimal response to them. So we put those back in and we made them a requirement. On the instructor side of the threaded discussions, the responsibility of the instructor should be most likely an initial post in the discussion forum each week, and then the instructors should respond at least once to each student response or each student post, and then also answer any questions or make any corrections if anything's out of line or out of order in the threaded discussion or incorrect information is being shared. So the focus on critical thinking about the material assigned for the week, and the dialogue is a process rather than an assignment. So we want students to post thoughts and questions that are well thought out, that are thoughtful. I know sometimes students go in and they just post something, you know, how's the weather, everybody, that type of thing. That is not something that is eligible for a grade. They need to post a threaded discussion that has to do with the lesson. So in the initial, the student obligation is to post a new thread in response to the prompt, and their thread should be 150 to 200 words in length. All initial threads should be posted on or before Thursday. And then part 2 is their responses, and students' responsibility is to post 2 or more responses to other students. And the responses should be 75 to 100 words in length, and those should be posted no later than Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. There are activities in each unit. There are flashcards to help study the terminology. The flashcards are in the unit review section. There are quizzes in each unit. They are a 10-question multiple choice quiz based on the reading assignments and lectures. They are for study only, so they may be taken multiple times. There are no limits on the quizzes. The scores for the quizzes do not count towards the overall course grade. They're untimed and they are automatic. So the instructors do not have to score the quizzes. There are exercises in each unit. Students should complete 2 to 3 brief exercises to practice using the concepts or skills covered in the lesson. Those exercises should take approximately 1 hour total to complete in each unit. The exercises are self-assessed and they do not count towards the final grade for the course. In the units, there are assignments. The only units that there are assignments in for this class is units 2, 4, and 6. Though there are graded assignments in units 2, 4, and 6, so that's something that might be different from prior Hope Course sessions. And so just be aware of that. For this specific course, there are no graded assignments in units 1, 3, 5, and 7. The only graded assignments are in units 2, 4, and 6. The students will need to complete the assignments to help them further study the concepts and skills that are covered in the lesson. Those assignments should take approximately 6 hours to complete. The assignments are scored by the instructor, and they do count towards the final grade for the course. There is a pre-final exam. Once the students complete their studies in units 1 through 8, they will complete a pre-final exam to determine their readiness for the final exam. That exam consists of 50 multiple choice questions covering material from units 1 through 8. The pre-final does not count towards their grade, but they must achieve a score of 60% or higher to qualify to take the final exam. And that is a closed book, untimed exam. We have the final exam. Once a student passes the pre-final, they may take the final exam. It consists of 50 multiple choice questions covering material from units 1 through 8. That is a closed book exam, and they will have 2 hours to complete it. Then in addition to the final exam, their other big project for the class is their final project. And so for that project, it is an assignment where they synthesize knowledge and skills gained in units 1 through 8. And that project should take them approximately 18 hours to complete. Please note the students are expected to submit original work, and papers may be evaluated for authenticity using computer software. One thing I want to be very clear on is plagiarism is not acceptable by any means from any direction. And that is counted as any information that a student copies from the internet, from any internet source, any written source, any verbal source, audio source, any type of source they might be drawing information from. They need to make sure that they are doing parenthetical citations properly and that they are citing their sources properly. We ran into this a little bit last year. We had students just copying literally whole chunks of papers off of the internet and pasting them in their papers. And so we started running checks on quite a few of the papers, and we're a little bit shocked to see how much information was being copied and pasted from the internet. So please be aware of that and be cognizant of that as the instructor, and make sure that the students are doing their work and not just copying and pasting from other sources. Any questions so far? I see we had somebody else join us here. Welcome, Brother Merritt.
Hello, Sister Jennifer.
Hello, this is actually Sister Anna Ballinger. I'm helping Sister Jennifer with academic affairs this year, so I'm signed in under her name.
I thought Sister Jennifer, I thought she would sound a little raspy.
Yes, sir. Her voice changed.
Yeah. Hey, it's good. Thank you. Listen, I have Grammarly. Should I do just because I can do a plagiarism check on all of my students through my software?
That would be great. If you have software, use it. That would be fantastic. One thing I found in teaching my classes last year as well, looking for plagiarism, you can kind of tell the tone. And as an instructor, if you all have instructed before, I'm sure you're aware of this as well. But you can kind of tell when the tone changes in the paper, you know, in the writing of the paper, that all of a sudden a student's not writing after you've read a couple papers they've written before. You'll notice all of a sudden it doesn't sound like they're writing in their voice, or you'll see their ability to write in one section, and then the next section it might get very academic and just kind of raise a red flag or something like that. And at that point, if I have any questions, I copy and paste and I do a plagiarism check. So absolutely. use any software you have. And there are some free softwares out there too if you don't have a software to do a check through. Grammarly is one that does a great check. If you have a program with Grammarly, there are other softwares that you can do a free plagiarism check on them. And then also last year, actually, on a couple students, I just cut and pasted right into Google, and it brought up exactly the host of the information. And so sometimes I just copy and paste right into Google as well to check.
In that instance, do you give them a 0?
I do. Well, what I do is I contact them. I contact them in the comments, and I show them the information that was plagiarized, and I show them the source that it was plagiarized from. And I try to give them a chance the first time on it and say, if you want to resubmit this paper in your words, then I will give you a partial grade for it. That's just my approach personally, just to kind of help teach them and guide them. We're finding some students may have been out of school for years. Some students we're dealing with are students that are actually immigrants. We dealt with a lot of immigrant students last year. And so they may not, their education might not have been what we know as education here in America. And they may not have received that same type of training through their education. And so I try to give them a chance the first time, and I explain to them, we don't allow plagiarism. I tell them what the definition of plagiarism is, and I copy and paste the information that was plagiarized. I copy and paste and show them the source that it was plagiarized from, and then I give them a resource to teach them how to cite their sources properly and how to use that information properly. And then I tell them, if you would like to resubmit this in your words and cite your sources properly, I will give you a certain amount of points. I'll give you a percentage of the grade on it. But if you don't resubmit this, then you're going to get a 0. Because
that answers that. Are we using what system are we using? MLA? Are we using APA?
APA.
Okay, APA. Well, I'm familiar with all of it, so I just want to be sure.
Absolutely.
Also, the only thing it looks to me like, besides the assignments, is just keeping up with the grade book and the discussion questions. And the discussion questions, my understanding is, I hope it's correct, they are graded, correct?
Yes, they are required this year.
Okay, good, because I prefer that. So
yes.
I like that.
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
It kind of forces interaction with the students. And so we found that, I was explaining a little bit earlier, that we found that we just lost all interaction amongst the students when we took out the requirement for threaded discussions last year. So we re-implemented that this year.
That's very good. I was concerned about that when everything went to Patton. I did not like the loss of the contact with the students.
Right, absolutely. And that's just kind of, the Feel of Hope Corps. That's one thing that made it so special, is because the students built that relationship in the classroom before they ever actually went on the ITW. And last year we felt like we lost a little bit of that because we tried to generate threaded discussion or interaction in the threaded discussion forums, but because it wasn't graded, we found that there was minimal participation, very minimal participation. So that is one area that we wanted to re-implement this year. So absolutely. They are required, and they are worth 240 points of the total grade. So you will definitely want to encourage students to participate. Okay, if there's no more questions at this point in time, we'll keep running through this and try to wrap it up quickly. The next section is number 6, estimated time to completion. If the students have any question on the estimated time to completion for the courses, or the total hours, of course, the total hours are 130 hours. And I'm on page 4 of the syllabus, and you can see that breakdown on there. I won't bore you with very specific details, but you can just look through and you can see how many hours are allotted to each portion of the coursework. And then number 7 is the course evaluation. And this is our grading scales. The grading scale, students may earn up to 1,000 points for the entire course. And each graded assignment has a numerical value. We use the grading scale of A is 100% to 90%, and that is 1,000 points to 900 points. And then B is 89% to 80%, which is 890 points to 800 points. C is 79% to 70%. D is 69% to 60%, and F is a 59% and below. And that's pretty common in higher education. So I think we work on a pretty common system there. Our graded assignments and projects, as we went over before, are threaded discussions, assignments due in units 2, 4, and 6 for this course, the final exam, which is due in unit 8, and the final project due in unit 8. There are 240 points for threaded discussions, 240 points assigned to assignments, 250 points for the final exam, and 270 points for the final project. I will say in the new updated courses that we're doing, since this course is now a 3 credit hour course, I will say unit 8 can be heavy for students. So you may want to warn them in week 4 and week 6 to start preparing for unit 8. As we're going through the courses, we've made the final projects a little bit heavier, and there's more expectation in them. Many of the final projects you'll see this year in Hope Corps have multiple parts to them. They're not just a written paper anymore or just a research project. Some of them have case studies in them. Some of them maybe have an interview process in them. Some of them, the students may need to create a timeline in addition to the research and the written component of the final project. So the students will want to look at their final project for this course and familiarize themselves with it and start planning in advance, because they'll have a pre-final, a final exam, and a final project all due in week 8. So it's good to give them a heads up in advance of that.
Sister Anna.
Yes, sir.
How many students are you trying to keep each class to this year? 20
to 25 students per class.
Okay. Just trying to get an idea of, from a grading perspective, what
yes.
that'll look like.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So on the assignment weeks, I would say probably, so each week for threaded discussions, probably 2 to 4 hours is the time that you will put into that. And then on the assignment weeks, I would say around 6 hours minimum to grade the assignments, because you're not only going to be doing assignments, you're also going to be grading threaded discussions and assignments and responding to threaded discussions. And then on the week after the final project, I would say 18 to 20 hours potentially on grading, because you're going to be grading the threaded discussion for week 8. The final exam is automatically graded, so the instructors do not have to grade that. But the final project, the instructor has to grade. And so those are usually 6 to 10 pages. The final projects are usually 6 to 10 pages. So, if you have 20 students doing 6 to 10 pages, that gets a little heavy. So from an instructor standpoint, that's good to be aware of.
Okay, good. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have due dates and extensions. The due dates for all assignments appear on the course schedule and on the course website. And the following guidelines will pertain to assignments submitted after the deadline. Threaded discussions, late discussion posts will not be accepted. Late assignments will be deducted 10% per day up to 7 days. Late written assignments will not be accepted after 7 days. Final exam and final project. The final exam and final project must be completed by the last day of class. No work will be accepted after the last day of class except by prior approval of the instructor. Extensions for reasons of personal hardship should be requested of the instructor by email before the due date. When granted, no penalty will be applied for the period of the extension. So that's kind of left up to the discretion of the instructor. On grading, in general, instructors will grade written assignments within 1 week of submission. I do want to say this, since I am recording, we're sharing this with all instructors. There is weekly participation required in the courses. And so students should not go a week without hearing from their instructor, should not go a week without seeing a threaded post from their instructor, should not go a week without their papers being graded. We don't want students to get 3 and 4 weeks into the course and not have any papers being graded, any assignments being graded, any of their threaded discussions being graded. In fact, in my mind, the first week is kind of a vital week because it sets the tone the first and second week. Since the assignments do in week 2, it kind of sets the tone for the students to know the approach of the instructor to the class. So the first week is very important that all of the instructors interact in the threaded discussions, because that's where we're making our initial contact and building the relationship with the students. And they're kind of hearing the tone of how we're going to be responding in the class, how we're going to approach the subject matter, and then also how we're going to be responding to their posts regarding the subject matter. That's in the threaded discussion. On the assignments week 2, I feel like it's very important that instructors are grading that in a timely manner, the week after assignment 2 is submitted, because that's going to set the tone for future papers and future assignments that the students are doing as well. They'll get an idea of how the instructor is grading based off of how that assignment is grading, and it'll give them an understanding of the expectation of their instructor for future assignments. So that is very important to us at Wilson. We want to build that strong academic foundation for the students, and we want them to know that the teachers and the instructors are connected to them in the class and are committed and are invested in them learning the coursework. Number 8 is the course schedule, and this just goes through what's expected each week. We do have multiple outcomes in each unit now, so you may want to read through those and familiarize yourself with those outcomes. And then the assignments have been built to correlate with those outcomes. For example, let's just walk through Unit 1. I'll walk through this one specifically, and then I'll let you read through the rest of them on your own and familiarize yourself with them. In Unit 1, we're talking about biblical worldview. So outcome 1.1 is explain the importance of a biblical foundation to maintain a relationship with God. These core resources have been, we've tried to create where they are tied directly into that outcome. So when a student gets done with that outcome, they can explain the importance of a biblical foundation to maintain a relationship with God. If somebody were to ask them, they could explain that. And so the core resources for this outcome are a reading by Solace, that's Introduction and the Fundamentals, Part 1. And then there's another reading by Solace, the Fundamentals, Part 2. And then we have a lecture that supports the readings. And then we also have a lecture titled Spiritual Formation, which I believe that lecture is by Brother Dean Anderson. I may be wrong, but I believe he's the one who does the lecture on that. And then we have outcome 1.2 in Unit 1, which is find a biblical worldview. Then we have the readings and the lectures that are tied into that. In that area, it shows that's where the threaded discussion is. So the threaded discussion is going to actually tie into outcome 1.2 in this unit. And so they're going to basically talk about their definition of a biblical worldview. Do they have one? Were they raised with one? If they do, how was it developed over the years? If they don't, how are they going to develop one? What are they going to do to develop one? And then in this unit, we have outcome 1.3, which is where they will the outcome is to identify credible sources of biblical information. And we have readings and lectures assigned to that. So you will see that pattern throughout the course schedule, where in each unit, there will be multiple outcomes, and then there will be resources that are tied into those outcomes. So when the student gets done with a unit, they should be able to basically explain and identify and meet those outcomes for the unit. Are there any questions so far over the course schedule? All right, if no questions, we'll move on. Unit 1, you can see the activity is flashcards, a quiz, and there's 2 exercises. Then you go on to Unit 2, and you'll see in Unit 2, you have your exercises, flashcards, quiz, and then that's where the assignment comes in. Remember, assignments, graded assignments, are in Units 2, 4, 6, and then the final project in 8. All righty, let's see if there's anything else on here. On the final project, it gives instructions down at the bottom of the course schedule. On this final project, you can see that they're going to do a Bible study, then they're going to do a research portion, and then they're going to do a reflection portion. So this final project is made up of 3 components. So you'll see as you start grading the papers, as I said before, the projects are going to be more intense than just a research project. You'll see multiple components to those projects. Our standard course policies are listed below. Participation goes through that. Be aware of that and go through that. If your students have any questions, they need to be participating. They don't have to be online the same time as everybody else, but they do have to participate in the class. Online course access and format. There's information on how to access the course. As the instructor, if you have any questions, please email Sister Jill Lewis or myself, and we can walk you through that process. We are still at wilsoncourses.com. And so if you logged in prior sessions, your login should still work as an instructor. Then we have number 3, academic and technical support. We have a great IT guy on board who's helping us that works here in the office, and he has set up a ticket system, and he tested it out last week, and it seems like it is working very well so far. We had a ticket system before that was fantastic, and then, as time goes, technology evolves, then we have to update things. And so students should be able to submit a ticket, and there are instructions in here on how to submit a ticket. If they're having any IT difficulties, the time requirements for the course is outlined. It shows what the credits, 3 credits equal 135 hours. 1 hour of work is equivalent to 1 hour of class time, 25 pages of reading. And so this breaks down the equivalency of the hours per unit and what they're equivalent to in the coursework and the reading work. The grading criteria is based on A, outstanding work, above average work, below average work, and not acceptable work. A is outstanding, B is above average, C is average, D is below average, and F is not acceptable work. So if students have any questions on what the grading criteria is based on, we can refer them to that. We have a format for written assignments. There is a writing guide under the course home within each course. So here we're talking again where students need to be sure to cite their readings in all written assignments. Academic integrity is very important to us here at Wilson University. That means students need to be doing their own work. As the instructor in an online forum, you'll know if they're not in your class anyways. If anybody has 2 papers that are exactly alike, that's obviously a red flag that they are not doing their own work and somebody's helping them or they're sharing work with each other, whatever. And this goes into plagiarism again, so it breaks it down. And then it gives the breaches of academic integrity that we can go over with students if they have any questions on what our policy is on academic integrity. Number 8 is intellectual property. Materials produced by students and faculty in this course remain their intellectual property. The students cannot reproduce or distribute these without written permission from the author. 9 is accommodations. Students may request accommodations for documented special needs. I do want to say in this recording, we do have a blind student this semester that is doing, or this year that's doing Hope Corps. I do not know whose class the student has been assigned to. Please be aware that there is a blind student in the courses. We're super excited about that. The student is super, excited to do the course. They may need some accommodations. So we will be working with them on accommodations, and we will communicate that with whoever their instructor is as well. And so there's some things that we can help the students with that we can accommodate for them. For this student, it sounds like that it is they're going to need extended time potentially for exams. But everything else, they have the equipment they need to do the courses. And so we want to give them an opportunity to participate in Hope Corps. And so we can help students with their accommodations and meet special needs to the best of our ability. If they have any questions, you can refer them to us, and we will work on meeting their needs. Number 10 is incompletes. An incomplete petition must be submitted and approved prior to the end of the final class meeting. If a student is not able to complete the work, they need to submit a petition. We have withdrawals. Students may withdraw from the course without academic penalty according to the following schedule. 5-week and 8 courses, they may withdraw up to the 14th calendar day of the course. Residency courses, they may withdraw up to the 3rd calendar day of the course. None of the Hope Corps classes are residency courses at this time. So that's not something that we have to worry about at this point in time. One thing that we would like to recommend that the teachers do is grade according to the rubric. This always helps offer a guide to the instructors on what is acceptable in the course and what is not. And it also helps us to support when students are saying, well, I don't agree with my grade. How did you come to that conclusion, then we can always use the rubric as a resource and let them know that this is what I'm grading according to. I'm grading according to the rubric, and this is across the board for all students. So that kind of helps us alleviate questions or concerns that students are not being graded fairly. So that brings us to the end of the syllabus. Are there any questions that I can answer at this point in time?
I have one question. I believe this year there's the students that are under 18 that don't get credit until something occurs at the end of class. I don't know all the details, but I just wanted to know in case there's questions or anything like that.
So going forward, Wilson University, and Sister Jennifer can speak to this even better than I can, but I can give you just a brief overview. We are operating right now under state certification. We are state approved, and by the state of California, that is under the Wilson University component. Because we are operating under that, students who do not have high school transcripts cannot be in the Wilson University portion at this time. Students who are in high school, we have created a branch called Wilson College. So students who are not U.S. citizens or who have not completed high school and don't have their transcripts yet will be in the courses under the Wilson College component of Wilson right now. And so what will happen for those students is once they've completed the courses, they can challenge the classes and they can get credit for them at the end. So basically, once they're done with all of the courses for the year, what the challenge looks like is that they would go back and they would take the final exam for those 4 classes. Again, they would have to take it once they have their high school transcripts. And at that point in time, the classes can be counted towards their college. And we can actually give them college credit for it. But because we are state approved right now, the state requires that all of our students either have a high school transcript or be a U.S. citizen. And so we created the different component, which we're calling Wilson College, and it is incorporated and it is legit, just in case anybody has any questions. It is incorporated. It is faith-based exempt. So we have filed paperwork with the state of California, and we are exempt from state requirements under Wilson College. So students can still do Hope Corps that want to do Hope Corps under that lane, and they're not held to the state requirement. So we want to make sure that all of our students could still participate in Hope Corps that are 18 and up, even if they were still in high school. And that's the road that we have chosen to take at this time. So that will not affect any of the instructors. That's something that the students will come to us to challenge the courses. Does that answer your question, Brother Derek?
Yeah, it does. And obviously I have a little more invested. My daughter's in that realm. So she's doing it this year, and she turns 18 on February, and then graduates this year or in 2019. So that clarifies everything. So thank you.
Good, perfect. And if you have any questions at any time, just give us a call and we can talk you through the details of it.
Okay.
Sister Anna.
Yes, sir.
What place in the cohort in the program are the students that we're dealing with in this class?
This is the students that we're dealing with in this course are brand new. This is a brand new cohort. This is the first class in cohort 2 of Hope Corps for this year.
Oh, fun.
Yes. Yes. So they have not been exposed to Hope Corps at all. They have not been exposed to Wilson University at all. Unless they would be students that had taken a different class at Wilson potentially. But most of these are going to be brand new students. And we have them, I will just give you a heads up, we have them from all ranges of life.
Oh boy.
We have a couple that's probably in their 50s, close to 60, down to high school students.
This makes it a little bit more difficult for the instructors because a lot of these don't know how to write a paper.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge. Yes.
Oh, yeah. I've been through it before, so.
Yes, sir.
They're so perplexed at how picky the instructor can be.
Yes, they are. They are. And that's why for my classes, that's one reason I like to use the rubric when I'm grading, because I can always refer the students, okay, this is what's going to be expected of you when you write your paper. Kind of what I've started to do, I don't know, this is just my personal approach. I taught in education before I came to Wilson University. I worked in a community college for almost 20 years before I came here. And so kind of what I do in my classes is I go in each week and I just post a weekly hello, like this is what's coming up this week. This is what is going to be expected of you when you're writing a paper. This is what you need to be doing. There is a template provided. There are expectations. You need to look at what the expectations are for your assignment on the rubric. I just kind of walk them through it. I know that takes a little bit more time as the instructor, but I found that if I do that at the beginning, then if I have students that are frustrated, I can refer them back to that and say, okay, if you're not reading your instructions, then you have to do that to be successful.
Well, I always try to put with students like this extra time in there so that they're productive and they do well in their program.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
But it's a hassle.
It can be. Yes, it absolutely can be. And we're looking at that going forward. Like one thing that we've talked about multiple times is having students do a competency test, so that at least we can give the instructors a heads up of where they are.
My experience is a lot of these students are going to be very remedial in their work.
Most likely.
Yes.
Most likely. Yes, so that's a good thing to be aware of as the instructor. Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you are so welcome. Thank you for the questions. Those are great questions. All righty, any more questions? Okay, if there are no more questions, that will conclude our web conference for today. And best of wishes to each of you as you go into your courses. And if we can be of support to you anyways, in any way, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Thank you, Sister Anna.
You're welcome.
We're expected to start to kick off every discussion thread, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. You have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.